Welcome to the TNR Untitled podcast. It's been a while.
Theme music, theme music,
Oh,
theme
no.
music, theme music, theme music, theme music, theme music, theme music, theme.
No.
Serious. Get with the program. It's
Yeah,
so
like,
fun.
If it wasn't good, we would never remembered it.
It's
all the
no,
time.
that's not necessarily
That
true.
is true. That is true.
You
Well,
remember?
for this case.
I'm not gonna put any.
Yeah, don't put any.
Yeah.
But anyways, welcome back. What's been up?
What's been up with the new respects, man? A lot.
A lot.
So much.
Y'all don't even know.
It feels like a season of maybe we just came out of maybe like a hibernating thing. In reality, we were renting a studio for about a year out in East Nashville, and then we had to leave that situation, which was awesome. Like, we had a heads up and everything went really smoothly.
Yep.
And it put us in a place where we were like, dang, we don't really know where we're going anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, because we were in a rhythm of like making music, coming together, making content. And then when you're unhoused, so to speak, and there's no one place to do that, having to do like scheduling, like where are we going to make content? Where are we going to make music? I think that slowed down our momentum.
Yeah.
Then we decided to just come to my place and was like, let's just see what we have in the basement, because in my basement was where we had kept all of our like random studio gear or instruments, or, you know, just because my parents, there was at my parents' house, they kicked us out of there too. And we just needed the space. So came in, set some things up, and we realized we had everything we needed to keep creating.
Yeah.
And it's those moments in life I feel like we have had over the last 5 years, at least, where we're pushed out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
And we have to land in a place where we depend more on ourselves and the Lord than we did on our understanding of the situation.
Yeah.
So, like,
Let's
What
go.
have those moments been? Because this definitely feels like a
trend.
A trend, yeah.
I think leaving the label in
Yeah.
29.
Well, I was wondering even before that. I guess
I mean, leaving
getting
school,
signed.
not going to school.
Oh, that's the first one,
That's
probably.
the first one.
Even though I was
That was-
faking. Yeah.
I was like, please, Lord, get me out of this.
Yeah.
No, I was so serious for a semester.
They had a whole program
Yeah.
for you.
I was studying like to be a playwright, and I was the first in the program, but I left.
They started it for you and you said bye.
And I said bye.
Is it still a thing?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, well,
See,
that's good.
trendsetter,
It's all right.
jet setter.
It's okay.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
settle.
So that, and then I think the first tour we did, and then coming back home.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
Yeah.
that gave it like whet our appetite for that.
Yeah,
But then we
totally.
had like so much development that we didn't know was happening, but that we needed to do musically and like character wise, and like making an album. Never been in the studio like that before.
Yeah.
Fast forward to leaving the label,
Yeah.
and then working, and then management.
Yeah.
Not working with who we were working with anymore. The good thing is, like, in every situation, it feels like a baton. Like, I am leaving one season and passing the baton to the next. We have no bad blood with anybody we used to work with. It's never gone up in flames, and it's like we don't speak. I was actually talking to our ex-manager 2 days ago. Called him and was like, how's your kid? And, you know, like, just, I missed you. I wanted to say hey. You know, like, that's the pace of, like, life that we want to lead, like, burning no bridges. And not because, like, you never know you'll need people, but because that's not how you love people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, and then finding the studio and paying for something
Yeah, we've
when we
never
didn't
done
have
that.
shows coming in, you know,
Yeah.
to make money.
Mm.
And then that studio ending, and again, the baton thing, like, it was a great transition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But being here and being like, okay, our overhead's down. Let's invest in what we need to invest in so that we can make good music, but then also, like, see what we already have.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, like, Logan came out and helped us treat the room enough to where Darius's drums can be recorded, and I had this couch down here. Like, it all worked out.
Worked out.
Yeah.
Very much.
And I think this music does feel like Young Black American is the first that you guys are hearing of that season.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Of the, like, let's figure it
A
out.
reset.
Yeah.
Totally.
Who are we for
Redefining.
real? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're kind of getting to make our first record in a sense.
Yeah.
Feels
Because
that
we
way.
got signed super early. We were super green, and we didn't get to just explore the way you do in a basement. Like
Yeah.
we explored with like in high quality studios
Right.
on a label's dime, but that's very different than like
And with leadership. Like,
Yeah,
you know, people being
absolutely.
like, what if?
Yeah.
Because we were so green, like, I was so thankful to have people
for sure.
People
kind
take
of
their
guiding
reins,
us. But any guide, well, at least for us, I'll say that we can sometimes silence our own opinion to trust the guides because I'm like, you've obviously done this before.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
obviously, you know, I haven't.
And
so
they were old.
there you go.
Oh my gosh.
So we learned how to be like, my idea is secondary. What is the good idea?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I was just talking to a friend about that. We had to undo that, and that took a lot of time to
Yeah.
undo looking for outside. What's the word?
Affirmation.
There you go. Because that's kind of the system we were thrown into. Was
Yeah.
like, yes, you can make music, but it has to be up to our standard
Right.
because they were paying for it, which
Yeah.
it makes
Yeah.
sense.
Makes
Business
so
to
much
business.
sense.
I respect that.
I would be the
If
same.
I'm paying for a record,
Sure.
Yeah.
then
I need to like
I need to like it.
Up to
Yeah.
bar, right.
We were just talking about that experience. And how it was kind of like our college years.
Yeah.
Oh,
Where
yeah.
it's like we made some mistakes, made some friends,
Mm-hmm.
made some memories,
Yeah.
and grew a lot. But now this is like our pre-grad or post-grad. There you go.
Post-grad, I think,
Yeah.
which is great.
Where
Y'all
we
used to be
have
sure
something to
post,
say.
after.
We know what we're trying to say,
Yeah.
and we're excited about it.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's where like YBA came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where did you get that hook?
I don't know.
Mm.
You know how some things feel like catching stuff?
For
Does
sure.
that ever feel like that to you?
All of them.
I think that's true. I was gonna sing for my mom on something, and so I all of a sudden like was in a rehearsal, and I just kind of heard it, and so I just like ran to the bathroom and recorded it real fast. That's where it came from.
Dang.
Wow.
Just the full thing.
Yeah, just a little hook.
Yeah.
What was the original chorus?
All rise and stand for the young Black American. Ah, Black American. Ah.
There was no We Can.
Okay.
Okay.
That was you.
Mm,
That was me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought that was D.
It might have been Darius.
I don't know.
It wasn't me.
Okay.
But yeah, I remember hearing that. We were working on another song to release,
Yeah.
and Jasmine was like, "I've been singing this little ditty," and we were like, "We're doing
Because
that
it was
right
February,
now."
so we were like, what if we tried to get it out for Black
Yeah.
History Month?
Oh yeah.
Which I'm honestly,
So excited, so thankful. we did.
yeah, I'm happy that
Yeah, we had time.
we had more time because it's bigger than
A
Black
month.
History Month.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that it was also not pushed to Juneteenth because it's
Yeah.
bigger than a holiday,
Mhm.
yeah,
you know?
1000%.
And I like that it is released in a casual way, like all songs are, and it wasn't an event. Because sometimes those things can feel separate to actual life.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
A little
this is
gimmicky
the
sometimes.
yeah. I'm like, no, this is the pace of our literal lives.
Yeah.
Like, how do we learn to celebrate culture, family, joy, freedom every day, and not just like it's Black History Month or it's MLK Day or it's
Yeah.
Juneteenth.
Yeah.
And
'Cause we
hopefully,
Black all the time.
exactly.
Yeah, it's
And
true.
hopefully those moments can be a pulse, just like Christmas.
Yeah.
There's a little extra joy. There's a
Yeah.
little extra,
Yeah, yeah,
But it's
yeah.
not the only time I feel that,
For
you know.
sure.
So, I remember we have always fake slapped each other when we like something
That's true.
and be like,
Such an aggressive people.
I know. I try to carry that into another right, and it just doesn't go over so well.
You gotta have the history.
That's right.
got to. So I was like, come here, when I heard that chorus. And then we honestly wrote it broken down like first. Because we've learned over the years that like as much as you can produce a song and like dress it up, if the song can't be sang on a guitar and vocal, then we personally don't want to sing it. Like
Yeah.
I won't say the song's not good, but it doesn't carry storytelling the way that we want to tell stories
That's good.
when it can't fit in that format. So now we've kind of reversed it and been like, when we have something like that, we obviously knew it was going to be an upbeat song. How do we write the story and then dress it up versus dress it up, get hype about how it feels, and then be like, what are we saying? And with that chorus, it had to have legs. Like the story had to be. It had to be. Like it just really needed to have life and lungs, and so that it could get to y'all the way it was supposed to.
And it's easier to capture a sentiment or like a feeling for us when it's just broken down and on a guitar. If we play piano vocal would be a thing.
Yeah,
as
somebody
well.
learn.
Totally.
Yeah.
Not me. I have a guitar.
Man, I tried to take lessons.
You can still do it.
Again? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
I'll
why
try.
not?
That's good.
Maybe.
Let me not commit. But then, so yeah, that kind of is the update of where we have been, where we're going with Young Black American. I'm curious to know for you, like, so you get the song. I want to say Jasmine and I wrote it. I can't remember if you were actually there for the lyric part.
I can't remember either.
Yeah.
I was there in spirit.
Yeah. And you're the grand editor. So it will be like, is this? And he's like, this line don't make sense. And I'm like, okay, cool. We'll go back. But anyway, at some point we had completed the story, could clearly communicate it on just vocal and guitar. And then it gets into your computer. Do you hear, when Jasmine plays the voice memo, did you hear what it is today?
To a certain extent, I can't remember. It feels like a long time ago, but I can't remember what I heard. I just knew I was excited.
Yeah.
I was like, we need to do this, and I'm always pushing for tempos. I'm like, let's make it fast.
Yeah. This is nice, but let's bump that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was probably more of a feeling. Like I felt probably the drums. And like wanted that bounce, I wanted that levity, because I think with this kind of song, it would be easy to get heavy really quick.
Sure,
And I was like, we're not gonna go there.
Yeah.
Also because we're not heavy people.
Right.
No.
I wanted to feel like us, which is joyful, which is free, and it's alternative. I feel like that's something that I was like very purposeful with even like the sounds and the tones. Is we have Kendrick, like DNA. We have that sound.
Yeah.
We have Young, Gifted, and Black, which has a weight to it. But I wanted to speak to kids like us who grew up in the suburbs, who aren't coming like from the mud like a lot of what is celebrated.
Yeah.
And I think that's an incredible story, but everybody can't connect to that.
Right.
And I wanted to make a sound specifically for kids like us, for people who like us, to like attach to.
Great.
That's cool.
Yeah, the only song that I can think of, and this is a statement out of ignorance, probably, but is James Brown.
Yeah.
You know, I'm black and I'm proud.
Yeah.
That feels light.
Levity,
you know?
yeah.
But it's still like a specific era of music.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And mostly because I can't play that.
Yeah.
Right.
And it has an angst to it as well.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah, there is like real joy. And it's cool because we felt that when we first heard it. Like it was like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? Like, yes, let's do that. But we've never been this direct in our music. We did. We did.
We did.
I hate them. Alive and
That hurt my feelings.
somebody somebody mentioned we ain't going nowhere.
Oh yeah.
Which was, I don't want to say a timid attempt, but
It was our first
poetic.
first attempt.
Yeah. Like a poetic attempt of being really honest and vulnerable. But even that was led. You know what I mean? That was like,
true.
tell me your story. How do we put it in a song?
Yeah.
And we were like, okay. And at the time we were, signed and we had assumed boundaries of what we could and could not talk about based on comments that were made, in meetings and things like that. It was never like necessarily direct. You can't write about being black. But there was like, maybe it's bad
you don't wanna write
business.
about that.
Yeah. Like maybe.
You don't feel like you have to say anything.
Yeah, don't
Right.
feel like you have. So at 19 or 20, I'm like, don't say it, Not because I know that I'm not bad, but maybe the story is bad. I don't know. Let's
Or just not commercial or marketable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 10 years later, like almost, it feels like I don't feel behind. Like, I just feel like this was what we needed. We took the time we needed, and now I'm very boldly saying, in my personal life, with my friends, with my community, way more vulnerable, way more honest. And so, of course, that happened to reach our music and be like way more vulnerable, way more honest, way more direct. And it's been really beautiful seeing the response of how people have carried this, even though it's only been out for a week or two. So many people feel seen. So many people feel celebrated. And it's bigger than just the Black community, but it's reached just people who love people and people who love music, and being like, this is the song of the summer, because there's the levity that we wanted to have. You know, like, summer feels like cannonballs and fireworks. You know, like, it's supposed to be like late nights and drive-in movies, like things that you do to create memories. And so this song being the soundtrack for specific people, but enjoyed by everyone, has been like the goal from the very beginning. And that is something we could not have done prior to the season that we just walked to. Like, I don't even know that we would have gotten this song in the literal studio that we were in.
Wow.
Just due to the access we had to things that distracted us. And not because the tools themselves are bad, but it's because we had to learn how to use them. So it was like, that's cool. How do we do that? Wait, we should see what that sound makes. Versus like, we got my pedal board, the guitar, and the preamp.
Some drums.
Yeah. And let's figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
So giving ourselves the boundaries musically to be like, bass, drums, guitar, and vocal. That's what we're working with.
I think that's literally that's the only thing on the track.
No synth.
Oh, no
No
way.
synths.
Nice.
Wow.
I'm kind of nice because I thought.
Cut the mic.
But let's dive into a couple of these questions.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
How do you navigate your artistry/story over the need to make popular music and appeal to a wider audience?
Jay?
Can you ask the question one more time?
Yeah. How do you navigate your artistry/story over the need to make popular music and appeal to a wider audience?
I mean, my first thought is that all we have right now is our story and not the wider audience. So it's not necessarily that we're trying not to appeal to them, because I think the hope is that when you tell your story that you find the wider audience.
Right.
But right now what's important is being honest so that we can find the people who resonate with the story that we're telling. So I think we've been talking about recently that this is like one of the first times we've told our personal story, and that feels really important so that we can find more people. But I think when, like you're saying, with the studio and like having few things in the studio, it's not necessarily making a choice as much as like working with what you have today, which is our story.
Yeah.
Because of how we growing up in different worlds and traveling and stuff, our palette kind of lends itself to being able to speak to a broad audience.
Yeah, I agree.
Because we had to. We were
From
private
jump.
school, and then home, and then homeschooled, and then on the road, and then church all over the place. So it's like we learned to speak to a lot of different languages.
Yeah.
And sometimes I guess you could say the ego or just confidence in me. I always think that my taste is for the wider audience.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is what they want. You know what I mean? Like, I've never been like, this is kind of niche. Like, I don't know who's gonna get it. You know? I'm like, sync. You know what I mean? This song about to be on.
about to blow up.
This song about to be huge. I see this here. You know what I mean? Like, I've never fought with myself and been like, who, you know, the music that I make, even topically, like the music that I make versus the audience. I just assume that the audience is down, like for better or for worse.
For sure.
But I'm just like, this is fire. So
I love that.
I'm sure. I think the world's gonna like it.
That's good. That's good.
All right, next question.
Yeah.
Y'all don't be thinking that?
I do to myself. I feel like more, but I do think that.
No, not necessarily.
What you be thinking when you making it? Like, I hope people like this.
No, I don't. I'm thinking about how it's hitting me a lot, and
That's good.
trying to catch what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
and translate.
It's a different, that makes sense. The difference between you and I is that I spend less time thinking about how I'm doing something or how I'm maybe how I'm performing to me. A lot of my metrics is how is this hitting them? You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, so in my head, once I get to they're gonna love this.
Yeah.
Put it out.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Even at the demo. Whereas you're thinking, how do I make myself happy with the sound, the mix? You know what I mean? Because if I like it, then I'm happy. And not that you're not thinking about the audience, but I think that's what makes teamwork so good. Because I'm like, I'm not thinking about that. I don't have a standard for myself like that. Does that make sense?
Wow.
After a certain point, I'm like,
It's either
it's
fire or
fire.
not.
Yeah, like, but my mind goes straight to they're gonna love this after we can get the song up and running.
Yeah.
And once I know that they're gonna love it, I don't care about what it sounds like no more.
Yeah.
I don't care about the mix. I don't care about you know what I mean. Like that guitar tone was fine. Why are we changing it? They're already gonna love it.
Yeah. Two
Whereas
tones ago, they were gonna love it.
2 tones ago, they're gonna love it. Where you're like, we can beat the tone.
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm trying to make sure that we are putting out a specific quality.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it don't matter. We just made the biggest hit. You know. Okay, what were the musical influences for the composition, and how does YBA set the tone for your next EP and album?
Musical influences.
That was
Influences.
right. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Don't worry, I'm gonna edit it out.
They ain't never gonna know.
Outkast.
Yeah.
It was a big influence.
I'm trying to think.
We didn't
I feel
reference
like you
a
said
ton.
don't reference. Was it this
Was
song?
this the one?
No, I think it was
That was
Happy.
so frustrating.
Really happy.
I hated myself for doing that.
You didn't hate yourself. Take it back.
Yeah, that's
I
not a
didn't
good
hate
thing to
myself.
say.
I love myself.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah, Outkast was big, and then TNR, low key. Like, I think I just wanted it to sound like us,
Yeah.
and wanted that joy, that bounce that we have in life, and put that on hard drive.
Yeah, I think too, like our live show influences our studio sound now because we've spent more years on the road than we have in the studio. So sometimes on stage, I'm like, this feels right. So I'll kind of like fast forward the time and be like, how would I play this on stage? What does it feel like on stage? Because we're able to accurately convey what we want to say on stage just because we've done it the longest.
Yeah.
And we're still learning or have learned and still learning. Like, what is that? How do we communicate that on a record when they can't see us and there's no choreography and there's, you know, you're not, the music isn't probably too loud, you know, like it, and we aren't up there sweating and y'all aren't jumping. Like, how do we still make it feel like all of that energy, but put into a 3.5 minute song that you'll listen to by yourself with AirPods or in a car, you know? So part of that was like, for the guitar world at least, imagining how I would perform this so that I could perform it well in here. Cool. And not get too distracted with tone, like with guitar tone and with, for me, again, like I just get to a place where I'm happy with it. Yeah. I have forfeited the idea that I want it to be perfect. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm happy with that. Let's track it. Yeah. You know, like, and then we just played and the chords were good. I think Dee wrote under her melody. Well, I started it, but you added that major too, which is typically a minor chord. Young Black American. So that it already just gave a feeling. So I'm trying to, in that sense, capture what I've already heard. Where it's like, this is a guitar. Like, this is just a guitar. It doesn't have to be anything else. Like, it's a garage band part where it's just like, I'm playing all 6 strings. There's no nuance. There's no like little feels. Yeah. Feels. The energy has to come from the drive of the, you know, actual instrument. Yeah. And that's that, like, alternative punky stuff that I kind of tapped into when I was a kid, where I definitely got made fun of it. Like, what are you doing listening to that white music? You know?
Yeah.
But like, Hawk Nelson was like,
Oh wow.
I
Forgot
loved,
about that.
That's
you know, but it was
yeah.
like the Yours, Mine, and Our scene. All the
Yeah.
boys in the
Yeah.
wake up. I don't know why. But all of
Dang.
that guitar is just
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Like, the energy is there. So I was like, thankfully, as you get older, you learn your own taste and interpretation of moments like that.
Mhm.
But it's still
The
like
feeling.
in my memory, in my
Yeah.
bones
Yeah.
of like, yeah, this is just we're more pop, but like the rock and roll
Yeah.
thing where you just get up, plug in, play,
Yeah.
and go.
Yeah.
So I think I probably had some understated influences, or it may not be as direct as I want it to sound like this song, I want it to feel like this artist. But it is like a lot of history influenced this moment for us.
And I'm always searching for a feeling, and trying to capture like what a song makes me feel. I think.
That's good.
I think 9 times out of 10, I'm not a great music listener. Like I don't listen to a ton of music, but if it hits me,
You'll wear it out.
if it hits me, then I'll like interpretate that, and then like, how do I get that?
Yeah.
Versus like trying to exactly get that sound,
Yeah.
which I think is helpful because you can't copy. Like it just
Never works.
yeah. So just filtering it through your DNA, through all of your memories, through all of your taste, and then it comes out like a unique creation.
Yeah. Did you have any?
Sonically, not really. I think when I first heard it in my brain, it was like Tame Impala, and then it landed punky, and I think that's like a truer world for us.
Really? It was more Tame Impala
Like
kind of.
in the when it
Like
was first
how?
coming out. You know that song?
I think
It was
so. I think
spacey,
so.
which is weird, but it doesn't.
That doesn't
feel right.
surprise
It
me.
doesn't feel-
Half time
I mean,
for you.
I'm like
Yeah.
I just move half. But I feel like it's like a truer world where we landed, and I think lyrically, even though it doesn't feel like something I like came up with myself, it feels like just the culmination of our whole life story, where it's just like, this is who we are, this is for all the kids who are similar to us, and so the inspiration feels like all the people we've loved and all the people we've been, just young, black, and American,
Yeah.
whatever that means to you.
Right. I do love that it's very vast.
Yeah.
There's been a Black American or African American experience that's pitched to us a lot, where it's like, this is the Black experience, and I'm like, Darius and I, being siblings, have a different Black experience. You know what I mean? Because you're male, I'm female, so I don't experience everything he does. He doesn't experience everything I do, but we can both say we have a Black experience.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
think sometimes when you don't grow up with as obvious traumas as others, you feel less Black. And I'm like,
Which is so sick when you think about it.
yeah, because it's like, isn't the Black experience riddled with pain and agony? And it's like, sometimes yes, I'll give it to you,
Yeah,
you know,
no doubt.
but not
Yes.
always. Like, and so bringing a song that is full of joy and celebration is like intentional, you know.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I think that goes into the sonics of it, like that goes into the lyric, that goes into, we're thinking about all of that when we put the puzzle pieces together of the song.
Yeah.
Because like Darius said a couple minutes ago, like when we heard the message, he knew it couldn't be sad, so we needed it to be up tempo. And then when we heard the tempo, for me, I knew it needed to feel like joy, so I knew the guitar had to feel a specific way. When he heard the guitar, we knew the vocals had to feel sit in a certain spot. Then all of that, he knew the drums had to do a specific. I feel like the drums changed a lot in this song.
Yeah. Just twice.
Okay, maybe I'm
Or
thinking of a
3
different.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the same part. I was just getting the tones.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it all builds a case for joy for us, and we're like we may not be as technical as like maybe some musical engineers. It's like it has to be this mic and this placement, but it is like, even if I recorded on my iPhone, did it get it? Like, did it capture it? And the it we're looking for is joy or a feeling, and that is what the evidence of that is found when people are like, I love this, feels like a celebration, and we're like, great. Like at the end of the day, like what guitar I used on the song is not more important than the message being clear. But we also recognize that the message being clear is directly informed by how we record it. Even in our attitudes, you know, like, and even in the guitar I use. So it's like kind of both and, because it's like, how do we communicate this rightly?
I feel like that is what we've done the best with this song so far, is captured a feeling. And it could be because we're actually promoting it better, but this is the most I've seen
interaction.
Of like, I felt blah 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 from this song, and that's super encouraging.
Super encouraging.
Somebody messaged me, Chris Cron, and was like, if this song isn't huge, I quit. And I was like, obviously he's joking, but it's just the feeling of people are attaching to this. You know, they're like, this could win. And so that makes all the history of label, independent, COVID, Black Lives Matter, getting our own studio, coming to my basement, like all of that just matter, you know? And
worth it. It adds depth and it adds like richness to it.
True.
How does it hit you as like a mixed Black American?
I think it hits me in a good way, because one, like we're saying, it's so vast that it covers all different Black experiences. Being mixed for me is like it's such a weird topic for me to talk about, because I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm going to talk about this in the right way. So I was telling them before, I was like, if we talk about being mixed, I'm going to be a little weird.
a little on the nervous side. And can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah, go for it.
Does it feel like, because you don't want to say, like, do the nerves come from a place where you're like, I'm not speaking for all mixed people, or this is just my experience, or do you feel like it will feel insensitive? Like, what makes you nervous to speak?
For sure, I don't want to speak for all mixed people. Two, I think sometimes my beautiful mixed brothers and sisters, we've said a lot of interesting things that have been hard to make community happen. So I think I'm always like wanting to make sure that I am telling my story and not all of our stories. And not saying anything to further a gap.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I think for my experience, I grew up, mom's Black, dad's white, and really diverse school and church and home life. So I kind of just thought this is kind of like what it is, and it wasn't for everybody. And I think as I got older and I was in more white spaces, and the people who loved me the most were Black, I identified more with the Black side. So I still kind of to this day, I'm like, I'm a Black biracial woman. So I think it feels like exciting to sing. And then also sometimes I don't always look at what it means to be biracial. If that makes any sense.
No doubt.
Yeah. I've had to learn it again, because obviously we grew up together, we're family. So Jasmine being biracial was a factor or a fact, but it wasn't like a feeling. You know, it was just like, you're Black, we're Black, this is how it is. And then the older we got, like I married a biracial man, my sister married a biracial man, and I've learned more nuances by being in closer proximity, as in our direct world, there's now at least three. You, and your brother. So you, Josiah, Tave, and then Jake, who have these conversations around being biracial and around being like, isn't it weird? Like, just normal conversation. Isn't it interesting how blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know it enough to speak on it, so I'm not going to make something up. But isn't it interesting, like, the feeling of not 100% belonging on either side, you know? And I'm like, I never thought about that. I always just thought Black, you know? Like, because in my reality, that's what it was. You were Black, she was Black. You know?
Well, and we grew up with a mother who grew up in the era where it was like, if you got a bit of black in you, then you're
Then
black.
you're black.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was in those times.
Yeah.
It was like
the
Yeah.
one drop rule.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it carried over generations.
For sure.
And a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people still go by that in their
The one drop
minds.
rule.
Yeah, where they're like, you're
Yeah.
still black, you know?
Yeah, and I think everybody's experience is so different because
Yeah.
I never had the thought I don't feel accepted by either side. I've only ever felt slightly not all the way accepted by the white side sometimes. Not of my family. My family is lovely.
Yeah.
But the black side has never felt like that for me, which is why I've always felt like I identify with
Got
it.
you.
I was talking with another mixed girl like years ago, and she was white and Asian, but she was raised by all white people, and so she felt like she identified more with the white side.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of came to this conclusion that like you identify most with what you feel the most loved by.
Mm-hmm.
I felt so loved by all the black people in my life. I think I was raised by mostly black people, and so I don't know. It's easier for me to identify with. But I think everyone's story is so different.
Totally.
Because there's so many people I've heard who are like, I don't identify fully with either. And
Yeah.
I get it.
yeah.
Yeah. Even if you think about like my in-laws, and they were a beacon of black people, you know, with like sister. It was they're biracial. You know, dad is white, but it was like they're black. You know, like I never. It was never like you know, little kind of.
Yeah,
It was always like no, the twins, the black twins. There's
Yeah.
Mary Kate and Ashley, the white twins, and there's
And
Tia and
there's the
Tamara, the
black
black
twins.
twins.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
Yeah. I think it shines a light on the nuance in blackness in general, because there is nuance in like biracial people,
Yeah.
because a lot of it depends on how you look, and then it depends on where you grew up, and then who was loving you and all that jazz. But also even in the black community, there's like you black, but
yeah,
or
100%.
like why you
Sure.
doing white people stuff? It's
yeah,
like
that's what we got
Sure.
Yeah.
all the time growing up.
so there isn't. It's not a monolith,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a gradient, and it's shades and hues, and I think it's all YBA.
Yeah, all of it. That's what we said. All rise and stand. All. But yeah, beautiful celebration. And hopefully in vulnerability in the lyric and in the sonic space that we landed in, it does set the tone for what we have coming next. Like the music that we have created in this season feels the most vulnerable we've ever had since like we first started like almost a decade ago or over a decade ago. Thankfully, now we're getting back to who we were in a childlike way in our vulnerability and innocence, but just with the talent now of the decade that we've lived. Yeah. We know more things, but we're kind of going back to like knowing less. Like it's like this dance between how do we get back to the innocence of who we were with the knowledge of who we are. And hopefully musically that's pulling through. Like that is the goal, and we have more music lined up, and we have a voice now. It feels very tangible. Like when we're listening through, like making plans for more music to come out or videos or whatever, there is a very obvious, think like a white sheet with a red thread. Like it's not just like some abstract thing. There's like a very obvious voice, a very obvious message, a very obvious sonic space that we live in, and we've kind of staked our claim and like put our flag in the ground, and it's like this is the space of the New Respects, and hopefully it's a space that's warm and welcoming because we want the world to live here too. Not that, you know, don't turn your back to anything, but just welcome this too, so that we can share a space that is full of celebration, that is full of joy, that is full of vulnerability, and that is full of us touring in arenas.
Absolutely.
I feel like the YBA is like the end of the story to a certain extent. We're starting where we are now, but the next music is going back to what we've been through and what we've gone through
That's
to
true.
get here. Totally. So I think it's, like she said, some of our most honest music, which is like exciting and a little nerve-wracking to a certain
If you don't like it,
extent.
you don't like me.
Right, for sure.
But I think it's tight because I think a lot of people are gonna connect with it.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
we love stories. I've paid attention to that recently. Humans love stories.
Yeah.
Like that's how we've passed
That is the entertainment.
information.
Yeah.
That's how we've passed time. That's how we've taught. So So now that
Parables for stories.
Yeah. Now that we're putting our story into it, it feels exciting because I think people will connect further with us.
Yeah, totally.
In a real way.
If you haven't yet, listen to Young Black American.
Yeah.
Stream it. Tell your friends about it. Yes, because we want our numbers to go up, and because we want the world to feel seen and loved and celebrated.
Freedom and joy.
Yeah. And the more you do that, the more we get to do what we do. And even if you don't, we still get to do what we do because we're loved and celebrated. And so, join the story. Stream Young Black American.
Thanks
and
for
more
listening.
music to come. Yeah.